witch is so unique.
The gift of witchcraft.
I was able to see, hear, and communicate with spirits.
A very personal relationship between a person and spirit. Carnal lust and fun things like that.
Working with different energies with spirits and communicating.
Creating magic.
Powerful ritual and powerful spell. She's actually sticking me in the cult.
The role of the witch is to make change.
Blessed be, y'all. Blessed be. People ask me like, okay, I'm a witch and I don't know what to do.
20 years ago, 3 young friends realized they were witches.
They scattered to different parts of the world following magic and spirit.
Now, they're back in their hometown to share what they've learned.
Welcome to That Witch Life Podcast, your home for living as a witch in today's world.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of That Witch Life Podcast. I am your host today, Kanani, and I am joined by my fellow co-hosts,
Hillary.
And Courtney, who could not believe Kanani would even dare to show her face after that spectacular loss in the Hallmark or horror movie game against my husband. What?
I don't even care. I was so distracted by having my daughter there. I should have known better than to do that, but it was fine. I don't care.
You care. You were caring.
It was too hard to focus with her there because all I was thinking about was her. And is she okay? Is she nervous? Is she comfortable? How's she doing? And I just kept checking in with her. And it was just, my brain was pretty much everywhere but on the game. So all is right in my world.
I think it's really cute. It took you a whole week to come up with an excuse because on the night you cared a lot. She's like, well, I was worried about my daughter. And I'm like, you never worry about your daughter. You throw her in traffic and she's fine.
Yes, that's for sure. That's my calling card. Never worried about her kids. That's a believable story. Well done. So I was late to pop. Oh, actually, I was the first one to log in today. And then I had to run away because my son starts yelling from downstairs. You guys had said you were going to be a minute. So my son starts yelling from downstairs, Mom, the wine spilled on the tortillas, because he was going to make himself a quesadilla. And I'm like, that's not possible. There's no open wine in the fridge. So I had to go down there like any good mother would, check the bottle, make sure it was sealed. It was sealed. Then I had to unseal the bottle to verify that it really had been sealed. And so now I have a giant glass of rosé. So, I'm being thorough. I was making sure that there was no open wine in the fridge. There was not. I changed that. I opened the wine to make sure it wasn't unopened and had spilled, and it hadn't.
Oh my God.
So now it's in my glass.
And all is
I'm
right
nothing
with
if
the
not
world.
thorough.
Make yourself
Everything
a
is
dang
right with the world.
quesadilla, but don't spill my wine.
Don't do it.
Well, when he was like, there's wine on the, and I don't know what it was. There was something that had spilled. And so we cleaned that up. But I assure you, it was not my wine. So, but we have broken into the Talk Flirty to Me wine that I'm drinking right now. So it should be a good evening.
Nice.
So we're very excited because we are going to be talking today about Krampus and other Yuletide monsters with Jeff Belanger. So that is going to be absolutely awesome. I cannot wait for that. And everyone's going to love it because the interview was fantastic. And I'm super excited for the holiday. I haven't done hardly any shopping yet. I don't even know how much shopping I'm going to do. I'm kind of in a very lazy place this holiday, I think in a good way, as far as I just kind of want to enjoy it and make it as simple and easy as possible this year. So I haven't quite mapped out all my plans, but I usually am pretty good at throwing everything together last minute when I need to. So it's kind of where I'm at. I have kind of not really plotted my course yet. And usually in previous years, I was done by July. So in about a week, I'll be tearing my hair out, terrified.
I felt like such a bad mom because I had to remind myself that, I should get something for my kid for Christmas.
Oh my God.
You totally should, because she's going to remember.
I know, right?
She has no fucking idea. She has no fucking idea. The stupidest thing I ever did is the most elaborate Christmases my children ever had were before they were both 4 years old. They have no idea. They have no fucking idea that these things happened. And they were so over the top and elaborate. I kick myself every time that I think about it. It's just absolutely ridiculous nonsense.
but like, and you also have your daughter's birthday barreling down on you just mere hours after Christmas.
Like right after.
Like,
what's with the two of you and kids on holidays? You got to stop.
Right? My grandmother from the other side of the veil orchestrated my daughter's birth on Valentine's Day because I think she thought it would be cute. Which is why I was in labor for almost 3 days, because I think my grandma was like, "Don't you want to wait, hon? Don't you want to wait?
One day, one extra,
won't that be cute?
Just a little bit more.
Won't that be cute?" Yeah.
I think you mostly did it just to aggravate me, because every hour that you were in there, I was getting angrier and angrier text messages from my mother asking why you hadn't birthed this child yet, and why hasn't she gotten a photo, and what's going on, and why has this not happened? And they just get increasingly angrier and angrier at me because I've done something wrong because you're still in the hospital. By the time she was born, I didn't know if my mom was ever going to speak to me again.
Yeah, you're right. I held my legs closed a long time just to spite you. That's what I did.
I know. It's because I told people you had Ebola. I knew it was going to come back someday.
Hillary, do you remember this when Kanani spread the word, like back when we were all on Facebook all the time? That's all we did during our work days was pretend to work and then play on Facebook. Is that there was the Ebola outbreak in New York City? So Kanani started spreading rumors on Facebook that I had it.
Such a dick.
And then I had to
get so much that I spread rumors that you had it, as I just acted like you had it and like it was common knowledge, and would like ask you how you were doing and how you were feeling, and people were like, "What the fuck? Oh my god, Courtney has Ebola!" People were freaking out and checking in with her. She would get so mad at me.
Why are you the worst?
I was just acting like everyone knew that Courtney has Ebola. Like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Are you doing okay? It sucks. So I can't believe, of all people, how did you get Ebola? I don't understand.
Well, the best part was that about a month later, when I had to go into the doctor to get tested. I had some kind of bronchial infection. And because there had been an Ebola outbreak, they're making you sign, like, have you been to or been close to anyone who has been to this short list of countries where Ebola was very active. And one of them was Liberia. And just a couple of days before, I had a tarot client who was a nurse who had just come back from Liberia. And I was like, oh God.
You're like, oh shit.
Oh shit. And I was like, I know I don't have Ebola, but they're going to test me for Ebola. And just the fact that they're probably going to have to test me for Ebola is going to make Kanani so happy. So I begrudgingly checked the box and handed it back, and all of a sudden I hear this scurry of nurses in the hallway, and they're just like, and then one of them opens the door and just pokes her head in just a little bit. This is pre-COVID, so none of them are wearing masks. And she looks at me, she goes, when were you in Liberia? And I'm like, I wasn't.
You're like, I
had a client who went to Liberia. Was she sick? No. Okay, then you probably don't have Ebola. I'm like, thank fuck. Oh my God, what? How seasonally appropriate
this
that we're
is why
talking.
I could have never been a nurse, because I just would have like peeked my head around the door frame and just be like, are you the bitch that clicked yes? Like, what? What were you thinking, honey? That was a bad choice.
Yeah, why did you admit to that?
Why did I? But then I thought, I guess in my heart of my mind, I was like, well, maybe I do have Ebola. I don't know. And that's what happened on Outbreak.
No, you were doing the right thing.
I've been saying it for months now. It's only a matter of time.
But I was like, this is such a perfectly in tune seasonal discussion about Ebola.
By the way, people listening, I'm joking.
Happy solstice.
You should admit if you were potentially exposed to something. It was a joke.
Yes.
But just don't tell Kanani. Do not tell Kanani.
Just don't tell me about it.
Yeah, don't tell Kanani about it. Fucked.
No, I mean, I just make it up. So if I actually have something valid, like, that's just worse. Because I'll already make it up on my own. If you give me something actually to use, that's a poor choice. That's not a good idea.
Oh my God.
True.
I try to remember, but that wasn't wintertime, because I remember specifically that I fell in love with that woman who was the nurse. Wasn't she in New England? Who had been told that she had maybe been exposed or something, but she was still riding her bike about town and like flipping off the paparazzi that were following her because she was refusing to obey the stay-at-home order or something like that. Because there was like certain people that like if they thought you'd been exposed, because she was like, it's impossible I've ever been exposed. And so, yeah.
I think it was the fall when that was going on, but then it was
it the fall?
It was the fall. And then by late winter, there was definitely
it was nice enough weather. She was outside on her bike.
Yeah, it was the fall. And, but clearly that was before COVID, because here she was ignoring the stay-at-home orders because none of us had ever done that before. So this was a long time ago, little children who are listening.
It was also forever ago.
Thousands and tens and thousands and millions and hundreds of thousands of people are testing positive. This was like, I think one person or two people had tested positive or something like, it was something just nonsensical about it.
One of the guys that did have it, he was a doctor and he was in New York and he was super handsome, and he had to be in isolation. He was really bored, so his girlfriend brought him his banjo, and so he's in there practicing his banjo, and apparently he was really bad at it, and the nurses on the ward wanted him to go home so badly because they were so sick of listening to bad banjo playing.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. That was not an accident on his part. If he was a doctor, he knew. He knew how to get his ass out of there ASAP. He's like, give me some godforsaken instrument that no one wants to listen to and watch me play it for the first time and just torment these people. Oh, that makes him even more attractive.
Yeah. Yeah. He was pretty cute and funny and all of that. So yeah. So that happened. And it's my first winter solstice with my little one. And I'm sure I will, I'm imagining that my husband and I will pull something together, but all these rituals that I imagine doing with our child, it's more like we get her to bed and then we go, oh yeah, it's a Sabbath. Should we do something?
Do we do it? Yeah.
Light a candle. We did do the dumb supper at Samhain, but we also had to eat. So that's, was part of it. So maybe, I don't know what we're going to do. We're definitely not going to stay up all night and wait for the sunrise. Hell no. Sleep is far too precious these days. No. That will not happen. That will not happen. But I don't know.
Maybe I wonder if you could just set the alarm, because the sunrise will be pretty late.
Yeah, I have an alarm. It has little limbs and it goes, several times throughout the night. So yeah, then I'll just get up and go outside and be like, look, child, it's the longest night. The sun's not up. And she'll go, blah! And actually she'll blow raspberries because that's her new thing. But yeah. So those who are trying to figure out their solstice plans, that's a good one. Go outside and look at the sky in the early dawn. Because dawn doesn't come until 9 a.m. So the majority of us are up already.
Exactly. I'm
trying to think of what the kids and I usually do for the solstice. I usually just kind of most of the time what I mostly do is I'll just kind of acknowledge it. And light a special candle on the altar, just light a candle on the altar and, come up with a little chant or spell or something like that. And just kind of, I don't usually do anything elaborate for a lot of the different holidays. I just I feel like, especially when you're a parent and you're or just if you're a super, super busy person, because you don't have to be a parent to be super busy. Sometimes it's just, acknowledging it and just recognizing that it's the day and, doing something, additional that maybe you wouldn't usually do or whatnot is, just fine.
Is it going to be different this year? Because, typically, I remember Kanani, because you're typically, this is the first year you've been single on the solstice in quite a while. But you a lot of times would do your solstice ritual on your own. You would tell us about it later. Are you going to be a little more vocal about it? Since you
first time I've been single on the solstice for 19 years.
19 years.
So just a little bit, a little bit of time. So am I going to be more vocal about it? About what?
Or more, I don't know. Are you going to wear horns and run through the house and build a giant bonfire in the backyard and scream, fuck you, winter, demons of hell, go back to where you came from, bring back the light?
I'm going to be honest.
Naked.
If I were to ever have done that, it probably would have been last year. If I'm being honest.
That's hilarious. That is
down a bottle of wine, eat a box of chocolates with a big old smile on my face. So that might have been a better plan and a better suggestion for last year. So no, I I'm actually excited because I more think about my kids, and New Year's will actually be the last kind of first holiday post separation that the kids are going to have to experience. We were not together last Valentine's Day. So I'm kind of happy as each one kind of passes, because each one's gone very well and the kids are doing really well. And he and I are, talking just fine, and the kids are doing great. So every kind of time the holiday goes by without issue, I just kind of check it off the box and feel really good about it. So
yeah,
that's kind of like after New Year's, then we're no longer going to be in the first of holidays. So I'm kind of, not that I want all the holidays to go by quickly. They do anyway, whether you want them to or not. But that's kind of, for me, it kind of just feels good every time each one passes and it goes well. So I'm just kind of looking forward to having them go by peacefully. And like I said, that's why I'm not putting too much stress or strain on any of them. I'm just kind of focused on them being calm and pleasant and fun and enjoyable, and not really trying to go nuts with activities or plans, things like that. My daughter's turning 13, which is a big birthday. It's her first official.
It's a big birthday.
I would feel really
milestone birthday. So we're gonna have a big slumber party.
I would feel really old.
Excited.
I would feel really old that you have a 13-year-old, except for the fact that you had her when you were 12. So
I had her when I was 30.
Yeah, we were all 12.
I've told both my children, you have to wait till you're 30. That's a good age to start popping out kids. Not before you're 30, please. So,
is it because you don't want to be a grandmother?
It's a milestone birthday.
You're like, I'm not ready.
I'm not ready. I don't want to be a grandma until I'm 60.
No, exactly. Hard pass. So yeah, so I'm excited. I mean, the holidays have been going really well, and I actually passed out Krampus cards last year for the holidays. So for my friends who listen to the podcast, if you do not get a card from me this year, it is because I decided not to mail them out, not because I hate you. So I'm still on the fence as to whether or not I'm sending out cards. And I've done it every year for like 20 years. So I'm pretty sure if I don't, there's going to be a huge list of people that think I just fucking hate them.
They're going to, or that think you're dead. They're going to be like, are you alive? Are you over there checking your socials to make sure you're still living?
Like, what's happening?
So what always cracks me up, Kanani, about your holiday cards is you always have a handwritten message on there. And you always
says love Kanani, and then you're like, what the fuck?
No, it's like from the Kanani family, as if I don't know who you are. Like when I sent my cards to both of you, there were personal messages and no signature because I don't need to. But it's like Kanani's like, in case Courtney looks at this and goes, "Who is this? They look familiar. Oh yeah, it's Kanani and fam."
Well, to be fair, mine don't usually have pictures, so you don't necessarily know. The reason you know they're mine is because your husband hates glitter. And so if I have glittered cards and non-glittered cards, I always send you the glittered cards.
He's getting the glitter cards.
Knowing that you're going to have to look at it and immediately throw it away. Or it's going to, maybe if I'm lucky, get stuck in the stack and he's going to like pick it up and rage. So I always send you the glitter cards, even if there is a non-glitter option, because I know that it drives him bat crap bananas.
You should send one just to him. You should send one to me. It doesn't have glitter on it.
We'll do that. A special one.
Gift should be his Christmas gift should be a glitter bomb.
A special glitter card. I'm here for this. I will make this happen.
I don't advise the use of glitter because it is very environmentally destructive. However,
you can get it when it's made out of seaweed.
Oh, I didn't know that. Seaweed glitter?
Yeah. Like, for instance,
glitter? It's mermaid glitter.
The glitter that's, from my knowledge, at least, I might be wrong on this. So don't fucking be haters if I'm wrong. But I'm fairly certain that, like, that's what they use for Lush products. It's not. It's a biodegradable glitter.
Excellent.
It was so funny. It was like a week ago. What they use for
edible glitter, because I'm assuming we probably shouldn't eat plastic. You know,
it was like a week ago, and I had broken out this fairy body butter that I had bought from, I think Bath and Body Works. I don't remember where it was from. And I put it on after the shower. I didn't think anything of it. It just smelled good. And I'm walking around and I was sitting at my laptop and I was doing some work and I looked down and my tits were covered with sparkles. And I was like, oh, well. And then I went and I looked at the butter and it said something about like glittery shimmer. It had shimmer powder in it. And I was covered from head to toe in shimmer powder. It was absolutely hilarious.
That's hilarious.
I don't believe it was an accident. I think you were...
The 3 times it's happened since were not an accident. That time was an accident, but the 3 times since then that I've intentionally put it on to know that I'm now covered in glimmer. That was very intentional.
Shit or glimmer.
Shit or glitter, glimmer, whatever.
That was
shiny.
That was a fantastic flub on my part. I'm so happy.
It's good times.
Yeah.
Have you guys done all of your holiday shenanigans?
Well, we're still halfway decorated. We're still a few weeks out from the holiday itself, but my husband did decorate the outside of the house. I hit this like this puddle of depression over the weekend, right as the holidays began, which was so weird because in my mind, quote unquote, I quote unquote should be joyous because we have this beautiful baby and but I don't know. I just cried all day. Now I felt better afterward, but it was a full day of tears. And I don't know where they were coming from. And so I was like, I just want the holidays to be over. I don't feel good about them this year. And I have no like concrete reason why, but today on the upswing, I was dancing around the living room to Lindsay Sterling's version of the Grinch with my daughter a little while ago. That was pretty fun. So
that's awesome.
It's picking up steam for me.
That's great.
My children don't allow for such time. They just the day after Thanksgiving were like, it's time to put up the tree. Like, yes. Let's go.
Yeah, so I have not gotten a tree yet.
Day after Thanksgiving, my house has been decorated.
Yeah, I mean, it took me forever to get my Christmas decorations up because it was hard enough to get my Halloween decorations down. But I've been, just trying to get, I'm going to be traveling a bunch for the holidays. So I'm excited to see family and catch up with some friends. So that'll be fun.
Where are you going to be, Hillary? Are you going to Colorado?
I'm going to Colorado from the 21st to the 25th. I fly back late on Christmas Day.
There's something that's kind of romantic about leaving Christmas night. And I'm not sure why, especially as a single person, you're just kind of
what I usually do is we do a Christmas Eve thing. And then we wake up in the morning and we do some stuff. And then I leave mid-afternoon on Christmas Day. That way I get back. It's also way cheaper to fly out on Christmas, hundreds of dollars cheaper.
Oh, I believe it.
And I mean, all we do after we open presents and have breakfast is just laze. It's not like we're doing anything exciting. Everyone's just done.
Christmas is so anticlimactic. Exactly. Yeah. You wake up, you have breakfast, everyone's excited, you do presents, and then it's now
okay, we're done. So I'll make it back in time to pop over to my aunt and uncle's house to say hi to people. Before crashing hard, I'm sure. But yeah.
I'm going to Ohio to see my in-laws. And
nice.
I know my daughter is going to have more presents thrown at her than I know what to do with. And I kept telling everybody she's not going to know, put the money in the college fund. And everybody was like, ha. No.
They're like, yeah, right. And you're like, God damn it.
We will be schlepping home suitcases of plastic toys that squeal and beep and delight no one except our child. But that's Christmas for you. But I'll be eating a lot of really good Italian food, and I'm very happy about that.
Oh my God, it's going to be so good.
Oh, I always eat so well at mother-in-law's house. Yes, Polish Italian community. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's all I got to say. I'm here for it.
That's awesome.
I don't have to cook. I don't have to clean. I just have to show up and stay out of the way. I love it.
So nice.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's one of the, better parts of the holidays, in my opinion, is people always talk about, the gifts and presents and things like that. But to me, it's more about the food and the company. That's my favorite part of the holidays. That's what I love about the holidays. It's the food, it's the company, it's seeing people you don't usually see, and, there's just kind of something fun about it, and the kids are usually really excited. And yeah, I'm excited for this year. We always watch NORAD on the Santa tracker. If you haven't done that yet, that's a super fun thing to do with the kids. I always put the app on my phone, and we always watch the Santa tracker, and we watch Elf. And what we used to do is we would watch Elf with the kids, put the kids to bed, and then we would watch Christmas Vacation. But now that the kids are older, we let them watch Christmas Vacation. So now they get to watch both. And we always order Chinese food. And I always, and then we're playing, board games, card games, things like that while we're watching Santa on the Tracker. And I have the same kind of group of friends that usually would come over for Christmas Eve every year. And so I'm excited. I actually, Christmas Eve is more my jam than Christmas. I get a lot more excited about Christmas Eve because it's just very casual. And everyone's kind of getting ready for the crazy. Yeah. So they're just kind of in a really casual, people come over in their pajamas. I'm like, seriously, come over in your jammies, wear your comfy clothes. And it's just fun and relaxing. And so that's my favorite.
I've always been much more of a Christmas Eve person than Christmas Day.
This is actually our last recording for this year. We're going to do the next week's episode is a re-release of Teresa Reed's predictions for New Year's. So you can hear that before you hear the next 2024 predictions, which everybody loves. So we hope everybody has a really happy, safe, peaceful holiday. Do not forget, practice your self-care. Take care of yourself. You're going to absolutely enjoy hearing about the Yuletide monsters and listening to Jeff. He was absolutely fantastic. So good. And we can't thank you all enough for spending another year with us.
True.
And everyone just have a blessed holiday.
Have a great holiday.
So word from our sponsors now?
Yeah, absolutely.
And word from our sponsors.
When I think of fall, I think of curling up on the couch with the dogs under a cozy blanket, sipping on some hot tea. It's the ultimate comfort move for me, and I am so excited to hear about a new tea blend called Soulshine from the Jasmine Pearl Tea Company, created by their tea Jedi, Jeff. Soulshine celebrates the magic of simplicity with dandelion root, which is very grounding, and uplifting Tulsi. It is so good, and I am so here for this.
I love their Burnside chai this time of year. It is finally chai weather after all this time, and the Indian black tea is blended with house-roasted spices, Chinese pu'er, and ginger. And to make it extra decadent and get the full experience, you can simmer it in a milk of your choice for several minutes, strain, and if you have a sweet tooth like me, add a little sweetener.
We all know that a new baby means lots of sleepless nights, but I've got to say Dark Forest, which is the Jasmine Pearl's low caffeine herbal blend, is perfect for the evenings as they get darker. And I try to cope on 3 hours of sleep, but would like to sleep at some point that night. The sweet fullness of the chicory is balanced out by rosemary top notes. It's almost dessert-like with hints of nutmeg, cacao, and ginger spice.
Oh my God, I love Dark Forest. It gives me all of the cozy fall vibes for sure. I also love the Jamaica. It has this gorgeous popped rice nuttiness that really makes it a great way to introduce yourself to green tea. Such a perfect morning ritual.
Supporting small businesses are very important to us, and the Jasmine Pearl is a family-owned tea importer and specialty tea blender based in Portland, Oregon, who has been crafting tea blends for 17 years and direct sourcing teas from origin since 2004. Their blending and sourcing philosophy is based in the love of fine teas and herbs, which is why they focus on blending with exceptional ingredients, hand blending each batch using mainly organic ingredients, and oh boy, does it show.
So you can check out these phenomenal teas at thejasminepearl.com and save 10% with coupon code WITCH2023. That's WITCH2023. You get free shipping on orders over $35, and don't forget to let them know you heard about them on That Witch Life podcast. Thank you to the Jasmine Pearl for being an episode sponsor.
Hey everybody, I wanted to talk to you about the new book out called Scott Cunningham, The Path Taken. It is a moving portrait of the iconic figure who led the way in establishing Wicca in North America, written by his sister, Christine Cunningham-Ashworth. Scott Cunningham, who passed away in 1993, wrote the pioneering book many of us grew up with, and it was oftentimes the first book you ever saw, Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner. That book radically altered the practice of Wicca, enabling practitioners to self-initiate today, and his books and encyclopedias continue to remain popular even to this day. In recent years, Scott has emerged as a queer icon, especially in the witchcraft world. Little is known about Scott Cunningham the person, and his little sister Christine sought to remedy that through the book Scott Cunningham, The Path Taken. She writes about their childhood and brings to life what it was like to grow up in the Cunningham household. She also shares the trajectory of his magical path and lifts the veil on his life. Christine Cunningham-Ashworth has herself become an established part of the divination and witchcraft communities. Christine writes a regular column in the Cartomancer magazine and is a popular speaker at cartomancy conferences, including the International Divination Event, Northwest Tarot Symposium, and StarCon. You can find out more about Christine at christineashworth.com or mysticalmagic.me. The book also includes appreciations written by key figures in today's world of witchcraft, magic, tarot, and astrology, including many of our podcast friends, Amy Blackthorn, Dorothy Morrison, Benebell Wen, Nicholas Pearson, and a foreword by Mat Auryn. It is a really interesting read, especially for those of us where his book was the first one that we picked up on our witchcraft journey. So definitely take a look. Scott Cunningham, The Path Taken. It is definitely one that you will want to put in your library. You will not be disappointed.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, clap!
Clap.
Really?
Yes.
I'm always late. It's always me. No, every time.
Welcome
For years,
to-
Jeff. For years. This is what we do. For years.
Corey,
It's
keep
always
this
me.
in. This is brilliant. I love that our brand new guest is already calling Kanani out on being
He's
an
already
hour late.
traumatized. He's already like, why? Why did I come here? I could have done other things. Well, we are super excited that he made a horrible life choice and decided to join us today to talk
We gotta
to us
clap.
about Krampus.
We gotta do the clap. Wait, stop. We have to clap.
No, we shout
We
clap.
already did.
Oh, but you were late. Now we're going to be like, your question is going to be like, hello, Jeff.
You know what? Corey is so used to Kanani being late.
So Corey has to sync us. This is how he makes his money. He has to fix the ruin that I cause.
Kanani
fixes it.
Oh,
We don't know
nice.
how.
All right,
You're
Buddy,
a-
are you
you're a-
actually? Are you
You're
going
a
to
job
say
creator.
Are you going to say our
And
guest's
thank
name?
you.
She's already forgotten to
I
introduce our
was
guest.
trying. I was just saying who our guest is and why he's coming on.
Nobody's
And if you're joined
cooperating.
today-
Oh, God.
God, I love him. You fit perfectly. I'm just saying.
Did we start
we
yet?
are joined today.
Yes, we did. This is
Oh,
it.
good.
This is how it goes.
All right.
This is how it goes. This is all in. So we are joined today by Jeff Belanger, who is an author, podcaster, storyteller, adventurer, and explorer of the unexplained. He's written more than a dozen books that have been published in 6 different languages. He's the Emmy-nominated host, writer, and producer of the New England Legends series on PBS and Amazon Prime. He provides programs and lectures to audiences all over the world, and he's been the writer and researcher for every episode of Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel. Jeff has made media appearances on hundreds of radio and television programs over his 25-year career, and he has a passion for mysteries and legends. And he is going to be joining us to talk to us today about Krampus and other Yuletide monsters. We're so excited to have you here.
Yay. Do we clap now? Yay.
Yay, now we clap.
You know what?
Okay.
We're going to clap for Jeff. I feel like
Okay.
this is important. I feel like he needs the closure. So I think we need to clap for Jeff.
If Jeff has any qualms at all, or any, we all have our what do you call it? Our imposter syndrome moments. If he ever has them, he goes, you know what though? At least I'm not that Witch Life podcast.
Those women
Because
from
at
that
least
show?
I'm not the dumpster fire that they are.
particularly that one. It's me.
Which,
I'm that one.
no, I don't think that at all. I know how this goes. I love this stuff. And thank you for having me. Thanks for, Merry Meet and all that, and Happy Yule. I'm very excited to talk about this. I love Christmas now. I used to be always a Halloween person. And still am, Samhain, of course, but no, I've fallen in love again with Christmas and Yule and midwinter, Saturnalia, whatever you choose to call it.
I love that. I don't want to put pressure on you. It's really early in the morning. I did find a way to shower before I came on and had at least 1 cup of coffee shoved down my gullet. So I don't want you to feel pressure or like this is a critically important episode to me because it's talking about Krampus. I just want you to know that the pressure you feel is real.
Uh-huh.
And it makes sense you feel that way.
I can take it. I'm ready, Kanani.
That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
I just, the Krampus episode and when we did a Sasquatch episode, I think are like legendary in my mind as like 2 of my favorites, creatures and characters and things that I love. And so I'm crazy bananas excited about this. So I did, and I'm going to show you. I bought the book.
What? Thank you.
I bought the book. I was so excited.
Oh, yeah.
You have the book. See, he even has the book.
Mine was free.
Twins.
Well, free is a relative word when you've written it. Your blood, sweat, and tears are in that book. Sure, it's free.
That's very true. Yeah, but thank you for buying it. I appreciate it. We're cool now.
I absolutely love it. It's gorgeous. All of our listeners need to buy it. It's fantastic. It even I love that it comes with the little satin string as a bookmark.
That's supposed to be Krampus's
so Christmas
tongue.
Book to me in every way.
It's Krampus's forked tongue.
Is it forked?
And there it is.
Now I love it even more. It is.
You love it even more.
We
actually included it in our Patreon subscriber boxes for this holiday because we're like, this is going to be one that they're going to want. So our top tier Patreon people are getting copies of it along with other sundry delicious Yuletide goodies.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the feedback. It was so much fun to work on. This whole thing started for me actually as a live show. Probably like 10 years ago, someone said, I do talks all year round on haunted stuff and ghosts and spooky things. And someone said, hey, it's Christmas. Could you talk about Krampus? And I was like, I knew a little bit about him. And I said, well, that's a good excuse to learn about him. And I started talking about Krampus. And then every time I'd give the talk, someone would come up and say, well, what about all these other monsters? And I would write it down and I'd go home. And then the show just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then finally, I was like, this should be a book. And here we are.
It's a phenomenal idea. It's a phenomenal idea. So I kind of want to start at the beginning a little bit and find out what got you into your interest and so deep into the paranormal and talking about the paranormal and being so into it.
So I grew up in an old New England town. And so where I lived I grew up in Sandy Hook, Connecticut. And the town next to us was Monroe, Connecticut, where Ed and Lorraine Warren lived. If you've seen any of the Conjuring movies. So I mean,
it's in the water in New England, all the haunted stuff. Yeah.
It kind of is. And so, I knew the Warrens since I was 13 and I would see their programs and I had friends who lived in haunted houses. And so I was just intrigued and I didn't grow up seeing ghosts or experiencing them, but I love the stories. And I went to school to be a writer, and around Halloween, you go looking for haunted features, and that turned into a website, turned into books, turned into everything that I do. So it wasn't really a career that I planned, but it's one that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. And I've been doing this full time since 2004. So almost 20 years. Yeah. So I love it. And so,
dream. That sounds so fun.
It is. And it's great. And it's like having 5 full-time jobs, between working for Ghost Adventures and writing books and giving talks and podcasting. Any one of these things is like a huge undertaking. You do a podcast. Yeah,
absolutely.
And so you have to love it because it doesn't pay very well. So you really got to work in volume.
Bite your tongue. We always add yet to the end of anything that has to do with money. We say it doesn't pay well yet.
Well, but you know what? I'm able to make a living at it. So it's good enough. There's pizza on the table and there's beer in the fridge. What more can you want? Right.
And
there you go.
Yeah, you got a roof, you got a bed, you got pizza, you get beer. It sounds like you're doing just fine.
We get a lot of people that think that, well, you can just, do a podcast with your laptop. So it's free, right? It's not expensive to do a podcast. And we're like, oh dear.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah. The nice mics and hosting and everything. Yeah, no, for sure. It adds up.
Oh, so fun. So would you say, because you said in the beginning when you were young, you hadn't seen ghosts or anything like that, it wasn't like an experience that brought you to it, it was the interest. Do you feel like in your explorations and in doing things, do you feel like now you've had experiences?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't think it wasn't real. I was raised Catholic, in the interest of full disclosure, through the whole thing, all the way through confirmation. And my friends told me, there's a ghost in our house. We see him from time to time. And I didn't think he was lying. I just hadn't seen it. But after writing about ghosts for probably like 5 or 6 years, it was 2003, and I was in the city of Paris, France, alone for a work trip and a whole other life. And I was in the catacombs, 30 meters below the city, and surrounded by millions of human skeletons. And I'm walking down this long hallway, and suddenly I saw this shadow the size of a man step out from one side and go to the other and come back, and I just froze.
No. Oh, okay.
And I went, okay, wait a minute. So my last name is Belanger, but over there it's Belanger. So I've got French heritage. And I'm like, my DNA must be down here somewhere, right? I mean, I don't know. But in that moment, I went, if that's not a ghost, I don't have another word for what it is that I saw. And that the best I can tell you is that was a ghost. That was the first. It wasn't the last. But in 25 years of looking into this stuff, I can count on one hand how many times I've seen something and said, I truly think that's a ghost or something paranormal. I don't have another explanation for it. So I'm a believer for sure.
That's awesome. That's really fantastic. You talk. I listened to your New England's Legends podcast, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Thanks.
And I love that you tell different myths and legends and local stories from New England. Just out of curiosity, how do you decide which stories to use or what you talk about in the episodes?
So the podcast, there's 6 New England states, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. And we each week we go in rotation. So if, this week is Massachusetts will be in 6 more weeks. So that's part 1. Part 2 is we don't want to just do like ghosts every time. So we do roadside oddities. We do some true crime. We do aliens and UFOs. We do monsters and cryptids, anything strange that sort of made the radar. And the wonderful thing is we've been doing it for so long. We've done 6+ years now without missing a week.
Shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a true labor of love. And now what's great is we have a great audience that most of the leads come from them. So it's really crowdsourced at this point. And my favorite stories are the ones that are really, really obscure. And you'd only know it if you grew up in that one little town. Because I know about my little area's stuff, but I don't know about yours. I didn't grow up where you grew up. So when someone's like, oh my gosh, in my town, we have this haunted, crypt. And if you knock 3 times at midnight, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm listening. This is great. And so a lot of it becomes crowdsourced. And then you look into it. We go through the newspaper archives, local historians, and we sort of piece together the stories from there.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. And that's I think that's very true with our podcast as well, as far as, in the beginning, you're trying to find, guests and, we're talking to our friends and people we know and people in our little circle. And then as it progresses, like all of a sudden people are being referred to us and, hey, you should talk to my friend, and publishers are sending us people and listeners are sending in people. And it's really fun when you kind of people start then exposing you to things as opposed to necessarily you always being the one exposing them to things.
What's so great about podcasting? I'm such a fan. I'm a user. I'm a junkie. I'm a consumer. I'm a maker, and I love how intimate it is. It's just you and one person, and then you realize after doing it a while, it is you and one person, but it's also what you're really doing is it's a community. And there's people that sort of identify with like, oh, we only have a certain amount of free time to listen to podcasts. And so you got to pick and choose wisely. And once you latch on to one, you feel like this kinship with people that also listen and with the hosts and with their guests. And I love the community that sort of forms around this. Because our podcast is regional, we do things pretty regularly. Like we do a bar night. And it's literally just like we call a bar and we say, look, we're not charging any money for this, but we're just going to throw out there on the 23rd at 7 p.m. We're hanging out at your bar. You get to sell drinks and food. We get to hang out. And they're like, great, right? I mean, and we don't charge anybody anything. So we just announce it. And then when like 20, 30 people show up, you're just like, this is amazing. We just said, come have a beer with us. And they did. And so it's neat to meet the people firsthand. And you realize like, wow, I'm in the car with you on your commute and I'm in your kitchen when you're cooking but I love the format and I love how intimate it can be and how connecting it can be. So I get it. I get how this awesome network forms out of this stuff.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so fun. Yeah, we've had similar experiences where, you like you said, when you're doing it, it's very kind of closed off in that regard. But then you go out somewhere, and all of a sudden, all these people know who you are. They know your stories. They're referring to things that you've said in previous episodes, and they're like, "Oh, I listen to you, all the time," and you're just like, "Wow, okay, wow, that's pretty
and then
incredible."
They're like, hasn't Kanani married the pizza guy yet? And we're like, oh, we're trying, and that kind of thing. So anyway, yeah. So I'm trying to get.
I hope that works out. I love pizza. Like,
I met him briefly from afar, so I think we're going to keep it at that. But he makes amazing pizza. I'm just saying.
He's a good-looking guy with a successful business, and he's looking for
owned a taco truck. I'd really have no choice. But I mean,
right?
The bar is still pretty high, so you got to do what you got to do.
Understood completely.
So what made you decide to write? You kind of already said. You said that you just talked about the different kind of Christmas creatures and Yuletide creatures for so long that eventually you just decided it had to become its own book.
Yeah, but there was a catalyst.
Was Krampus the catalyst? It's okay if you say it was Krampus that was the catalyst, really.
No, it was not the catalyst. Krampus is amazing, and tip all hats, of course, to the great Yule creature. But the catalyst was I was putting up my holiday lights early December, and it was really cold. I live in Massachusetts. It was a really cold day, and I don't know if you put lights up on your house each year, but you take so you take them out, and half of them don't work, and my fingers are getting numb. Like they're not working. It's so cold out, and I hung this wreath up on my front door, this plastic fake wreath that I've put up every year, just like my dad did, just like his dad did. And the wreath fell to the ground, and I screamed out, some expletive, and I was like, damn it, why do I do this? It's so much money, so much trouble. Why Santa? Why December 25th? Why the evergreens? Why the lights? Why do we go through all this fuss over this one damn day, almost go broke over it, pay bills until March, And so I'm the kind of person that once a question gets in me, it starts to haunt me. And if I don't deal with that haunting, and this has been true all my creative life, if I don't deal with the haunting, it turns demonic, and then I need an exorcism. And for me, the ultimate exorcism for me is to write a book. That is the only way to get that demon out.
Oh, and so, Jeff, you and I need to get drunk together. We have so much to share.
I'm drunk right now, so
there you go.
We're fine. So that was literally it. And so I started saying, like, why December 25th? Why the evergreens? Why the wreath? Why this? Why that? And then I started taking a deep dive and realizing, like, my goodness, this holiday is the most inclusive holiday of all of them. Right? When I was a kid, I'm like, oh man, I had Jewish friends, and I'm like, Santa doesn't like Jewish people. That's awful. I didn't know he was an anti-Semite. Like, that's terrible. Like, he's the greatest guy ever. And
so sad.
But he's not, by the way. I now know Santa's not an anti-Semite. Santa could bring toys to anyone that Santa chooses to bring toys to.
I mean, I watch NORAD every year, and I follow the NORAD tracker, and he goes to Syria and Israel and all these places. So I'm just saying, he's in Africa. He's in all the places.
I read Diary of Anne Frank when I was in 4th grade, and there is a part where they're hiding in the annex, and they're going to pick up their St. Nicholas presents that the people who were hiding them left for them in the wooden shoes. I think they left them in the clogs outside the attic door. And I remember being I was like 10 when I read this. And so I was like, I'd be like, St. Nicholas? They're Jewish, so they have St. Nicholas? So I was like, well, I guess, then why isn't Santa visiting everybody over here? Those kind of questions that I had, because those origins are, Santa's very inclusive. Yes, Jeff, you're right.
Well, so here's the thing. In all countries of the world, except really the United States, St. Nicholas and Santa Claus are two different people. We blend them here. Even I know it's confusing. The song "Jolly Old Saint Nicholas," tell us Santa I get it. We've blended the two, but Saint Nicholas arrives on December 6th throughout Europe. That's Saint Nicholas Day. That's the day that the saint died in Myra, Turkey, and Santa Claus comes on December 25th. And that's really probably the American cultural influence that really took off in like the 1920s and 30s. And turned it into this worldwide phenomena that turned out to be incredibly good for the economy if you're one of those people that likes to make money.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm not saying that the rage is brewing. I'm just saying that you've now told me that I'm supposed to be getting presents on December 6th and the 25th. And I'm feeling very angry and stabby right now because I only get presents on one day. And you're now telling me I'm supposed to be getting presents on 2 days.
Hanani, I'm giving you your Christmas present on December 2nd. Now, friends listening to this, we're recording this in November. I'm giving you your present on December 2nd. I already have it. I'm going to give it to you at the Yule Bazaar.
So it's worse. If you were Italian, you'd also get presents on January 6th when La Befana brings you one more.
La Befana, she's my girl. She also cleans the house. She shows up and cleans the house, right? Oh, right. I love her.
So if you were only Italian, the Italian Christmas witch would show up on Epiphany, January 6th, and you would have presents, of course, on December 6th, December 25th, and January 6th. I'm not Italian either, so we all got stiffed on that one.
I mean, I'm not saying that any, future boyfriends have a lot to live up to now because these are now going to be marked very clearly on their calendars.
Sure.
But this is a life lesson for me. And I now realize I've been living it poorly and I need to make better choices moving forward.
Here's the beautiful news, right? So this holiday, what it is, you get to redefine it every single year. It's always been manufactured nostalgia. Right? Like right out of the gate. So if there's some tradition that you want to adopt this year, it's yours. You can. If there's some family thing like, my Jewish friends go to movies and eat Chinese food, right? Like that's their tradition. And I'm like, so really, just to get back to why this is the most inclusive holiday ever, the reason is because it's always has been about the winter solstice. And the winter solstice, when you live up north, is dangerous. It's frightening. The day is short. The night is long. If you're far enough north, the sun doesn't rise at all. And you're facing down the barrel of a gun that is the most dangerous season of them all, where you have to have enough food, enough fuel. You're not going to have much to do. If you're a farmer, there's nothing to do except survive. And so we celebrate, we give each other gifts. We celebrate the harvest. We slaughter animals because they'll keep in the frozen, environment. And we have feasts and we have fresh everything. And we give each other gifts and spread goodwill because I know if my roof collapses under the snow, I might come to your house and need to lean on you and vice versa. So it's a good time to get together. Anyone who's affected by the weather, this is your holiday. It doesn't matter what you believe or don't believe. This is what it's really about, is the winter solstice. It's what it's always been about. That's what Saturnalia is about. That's what Yule is about. That's what midwinter is about. That's what Christmas is about. Always, always. And it's been, a religious veneer has been painted on it. But that religious veneer, ironically, Christians have been at war with Christmas from 336 of the Common Era until about 1980, right? That's how long the war went. Like in our lifetime, suddenly they just said, and then finally around the 80s, they said, we can't win this war. Let's just claim it was always ours. And that was the switch. And I'm not saying you can celebrate the birth of Jesus any day you want. December 25th is as good a day as any. But if you believe the Bible, that's not when Jesus was born. In fact, it's the only season you can rule out if you believe the Bible is winter, right? It says in Luke chapter 4, shepherds lay sleeping out with their flock by night. Angel of the Lord appeared and they were terrified. So shepherds stayed out with their flock by night in like spring, summer, and fall to a certain point, and then it got too cold. So if you believe, and Jesus the birth of Jesus doesn't get much ink in the Bible because it's not important. And I'm not poo-pooing anything. It's just he was born a commoner, and commoners didn't track their birthdays. And that was a very important part of the origin story of Jesus. But then later on, when a Roman emperor was trying to sell Jesus to the masses, he needed to be a king, and kings need birthdays. And so in the Julian calendar, December 25th was the winter solstice. And that's Sol Invictus. That's the day that the sun starts to return. Every day after the solstice, the sun comes back a little bit more. And so Jesus was the Son of God. So he said, we're going to make this Jesus's birthday. Saturnalia is December 17th through the 22nd or 23rd rather. And then you get a day off and then another party, right? And so that was something Rome could get behind. So you've got the idea was it was always sort of trying to Christianize what had always been a holiday that was all about the people, dressing fancy, giving gifts, drinking to excess, eating to excess, partying your butt off because you're about to go into winter and it's going to be cold and long and dangerous. And so we party.
I love that. I love that so much. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so one of the things there was tons of characters in here that I want to talk about, but I want to start with let's start with my boy Krampus.
Yes.
Let's start with my Krampus. So can you explain to us and our listeners who is Krampus?
Krampus is a wonderful monster covered in fur with horns, a long red forked tongue, sometimes hooves for feet, sometimes one human foot, sometimes, one hoof, one human foot, sometimes two human feet, wrapped in chains, carries a burlap sack. He comes down from the mountains on December 5th, the day before St. Nicholas Day. And he goes into the homes and scoops up all the naughty children, puts them into his sack or his basket, takes them back to his lair and kills them, eats them. They're dead. Come December 6th, there's no naughty children left in the world because Krampus did all the dirty work.
Holy shit. No wonder Kanani loves him
he's
so
the
much.
Dexter. He's the Dexter of Christmas characters.
And one thing that I've sort of discovered along the way is that, he is not the anti-St. Nicholas. He's not the enemy of St. Nicholas whatsoever. These two are partners. This is good cop, bad cop. This is a tale as old as time, right? St. Nicholas brings toys on December 6th to all the good girls and boys because that's all that's left. All the naughty ones have been snatched up and taken away. And when you see these wonderful postcards, this amazing artwork, especially from the latter half of the 1800s and early 1900s, there's so many great postcards. Some of them show Krampus and St. Nicholas together, like arriving at the house at the same time. And St. Nicholas is patting the heads of the good kids and the naughty kids are hiding because they know retribution's coming. They know the consequences arrived in the form of this monster that's going to scoop them up right in front of their parents and take them away. And the parents don't even care. They're not going to stop them because they know the little kid deserves it, the brat.
Right? Like, you knew. Fuck around and find out. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
What would they have called that parent? What would that kind of parenting approach be called now? Would that be the tough love approach? It's certainly not a gentle parenting.
Now it's just Gen X parenting. I'm not sure. It's how we were parented. I'm not sure what that would have been called back in the day.
I can tell you, there's a term for it. It's German. German is German parenting. That's how it goes, Fräulein. Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about the Grimm fairy tales, the originals, not what happened to them once Disney, they were brutal. Did you ever hear the story? Yeah. Do you know the original story of the Sandman?
No.
I do not, but I need to know it now.
Yeah, you do. Okay, so Der Sandman. You have a young child. Courtney, this is, as your child gets a little older, this is my gift to you for Yule. You can use this if you need
I'm taking it.
So
mine are 10 and 12, so they're probably perfect for this.
Yeah, all it's a free gift. So when I grew up, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, make him the cutest, right? The Cordettes and Roy Orbison, a candy-colored clown they call the Sandman. Sprinkle stardust, you have great dreams. That's how I grew up hearing it. But the original Germanic folklore was a story by Ernest Hoffmann called Der Sandman. And it says, he's a wicked, horrible creature who comes in the night and blasts sand in the eyes of the naughty children and yanks the eyeballs out of their head, takes it back to the half moon and feeds those eyeballs to his children with hooked beaks like owls as their food. And so German parents would tell their kids this story and say, listen, when you go to bed, shut your mouth, go to sleep, close your eyes because the Sandman's coming. And guess what?
Oh, God.
When you wake up in the morning, why don't you feel the corners of your eyes? If you feel any sand in there, it means the Sandman came and it's a damn good thing your eyes were shut.
Oh my God.
You're welcome. Kids. You're welcome. You just gained so much sleep in the future. So many.
Guess what's happening in my house tonight?
The
Guess
Sandman's
what's happening
coming
in my house tonight? This is what I am like. I haven't done the ancestry. I've just done the genealogy, and so I know I'm at least probably 50% German because you don't have to go very far to come straight from Germany. So I now have a new parenting style, and I appreciate it. My children won't, but I'm really excited right now.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my gift to you. And Krampus was, by the way, when I grew up, if I was told if I was naughty, I might get less presents. That was consequence 1. Consequence 2 was coal and sticks in my stocking at Christmas. That was the consequence. If you're German, the consequence is Krampus is coming. He's going to snatch you up and take you away, and you're going to die. Like that's a consequence. I mean, that is hardcore. And so we've really lost our way. And I know why, and I know exactly how.
I agree.
But that happened, when Santa Claus came to town, in the 20s and 30s, 1920s and 30s, when Santa Claus came to town, all the dark stuff really got pushed into the back recesses because it became about consumerism, spending money. It was really good for the economy, and it is good for the economy. And no argument there. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. What's good for the economy is good for all of us. But all this dark stuff got pushed into the corner. It wasn't eradicated. They were waiting. They've been biding their time. Krampus, by the way, is only the most famous because the movie, he's had movie deals already. And he's coming back. There's now Krampus festivals in the United States, all over the world.
We need to go to those. There's one in Leavenworth, Washington. We've been wanting to check out.
They're popping up. So my parents live in this cute little Connecticut town, and 2 years ago, I gave a talk at their town library on the monsters of Christmas, and someone told me, they said, well, today was our Christmas parade, and it had all the things that you would expect, but then there was this horned, hairy monster walking in the parade, and I didn't know what it was until I came to your talk, and now I realize it was Krampus. And I'm like, if Krampus is in that little town in Connecticut 2 years ago, oh, watch out. You better watch out. You better not cry.
Yep.
Like
yep.
he could be behind you right now, right? Like that's where we're at. So Krampus is coming back because he's fun, because he's awesome, because he represents the darker side in all of us, and we need the literal consequence. The amazing thing about this holiday is that the promise of it, everything that we're told we're supposed to feel about Christmas was told to us by in the form of a ghost story, one of the greatest ghost stories ever written by a master, right? A Christmas Carol.
Yes. Yes.
That story defines what it's supposed to mean. Christmas was not a thing before that story. It was a day. It was, sort of a thing, but that ghost story made it huge. How you're supposed to feel, how you're supposed to take the day off, and how you're supposed to look out for others and help others. And if you're haunted by your past, if you face down your ghosts and your demons, you have the chance to be redeemed in a single night. But that doesn't happen unless you go through the trial, unless you run the gauntlet of your darkness, your dark past, your dark demons, unless you go through that. I mean, how can you see the light unless you're in a dark place? You know what I mean? And Dickens knew that. And I think that's why these monsters are coming back. That's why they're getting movie deals. That's why we're talking about them again. And I think it's just amazing. It's wonderful that this is part of our legend, our lore, our culture. And they've always been there, right? They've always been. Krampus, by the way, never went fully away. I thought he did. But then I thought back to my childhood. Courtney, you remember, right? You'd watch cartoons around December, and there was one that was your favorite, The Grinch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
100%.
man.
That's That's Krampus. Am I accusing?
I have a Grinch giant stuffed, it's not a stuffed animal, but it's like a stuffed statue that I bought this year. And I love it so much. It's still out. I didn't put it away after Christmas it's in my house all the time now because I just love it and I want to see it.
So am I here today to accuse Dr. Seuss of plagiarism? Yes, I am. The Grinch is Krampus. That's Krampus. He's got the little, he doesn't have horns, but his hair turns into horns, and come on, lives in a mountain lair above Whoville, covered in fur. That's just Krampus. And that's probably why we took to that character, because there was something about him that was sort of familiar, because Krampus is in our DNA. Krampus, Belsnickel, Grilla, like all these monsters that come from our culture way back.
The Office episode of Belsnickel is one of the classics, a Dwight Christmas.
I'll be honest. So that was one of the things that was fun for me So obviously I'm obsessed with all holidays. I love all holidays. I just want any reason to just be happy and celebrate and be excited about something. I don't care what the holiday is. So I've always been a big, Christmas Yule person. Mm-hmm. And so we do all the things. And my children are obsessed with the new movies, and we've watched them 1,000 times. The Christmas Chronicles.
Yeah,
that just came out the last few years. That's like the new classic, right?
Who's in it? So who's the antagonist?
Right. So the second Christmas Chronicles had two new characters. It had the Yule Cat and it had Belsnickel. Mm-hmm. And I will be honest, I did not know until I saw your book that those were previous folkloric characters. I thought they were from for the movie.
No,
I didn't know that the movie took these previous characters that existed in folklore. So you want to tell us a little bit about those? Because I'm sure lots of our listeners are familiar with that movie.
So Belschnickel, if Krampus is a little too much for your taste, like killing children is a little tough, maybe you're soft that way.
I mean, they were bad. It's fine.
Yeah, so Belschnickel just beats them. And so Belschnickel translates to Nicholas in fur. And every village would have a Belschnickel. So like this year could be my turn. And I would dress in like patchwork furs and I'd cover my face in soot and I'd carry a switch of sticks and I'd show up at your house and I would say, Kanani, do you have any, naughty children? And you'd say, well, this one's been good, but that one, not so much. And I'd take your child out back and I'd tie him to a tree and I would beat him with the sticks. And so the idea is that your child could get right and still get some presents in a few weeks, coming up at Christmas time. And next year might be your turn. You could come beat my children. And the circle goes round and round.
I mean, it does seem like there's some equality involved.
Absolutely. And so Nicholas in Furs was carried over, especially, and the reason he appeared in the Office episode is because that show takes place in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the heart of Pennsylvania Dutch country. And they brought over, when those immigrants came, they brought Krampus and they brought Belschnickel with them. So it was probably like five or so years ago, the PBS series I work for, New England Legends, we got to film a holiday special at this historic home in Connecticut, in Niantic, Connecticut, where instead of bringing in St. Nicholas, and it's one of these houses from like the early 1800s where they keep the furniture and you can tour it as like part of history tours. So instead of bringing in St. Nicholas, they bring in Belschnickel. And I went, this is amazing, right? That they just made the decision to do that. And so we went and we got to film kids with Belschnickel and we got to interview the Belschnickel. And it was so cool. I'm like, so he's starting to pop up. But at the same time, he doesn't quite have the star power. So I've witnessed young children. I've witnessed my own child when Santa walks into a room and your child goes, I mean, that's the world's biggest celebrity. There's no one more famous, right, than Santa. Belschnickel doesn't quite have the star power, but I think he's coming back. And then he makes appearances in the Netflix series Christmas Chronicles 2. Yulekat from Iceland was there as one of the cohorts. These creatures are making a comeback because it's fun, because the internet spreads these stories. We watch these festivals and these parades in other countries and we go, well, why can't we have that? And the answer is you can. You can have that, right? You can bring it over and you can celebrate it too. You can celebrate all the darkest parts of this because the holiday is literally about darkness. It's dark,
right?
It's dark and scary.
I feel like I've failed my children because they're too loved and provided for. And so they'll even tell me, they'll be like, we don't really have to do anything big for Christmas this year if you don't want. Like, if I didn't do presents, they're not going to get bunched up about it. So clearly I don't have that as a weapon. So the fear of death or beatings, this might be what they need in their life.
Okay. Threaten them to come to Auntie Coco's house and she'll make them do chores like they did.
Oh, you know what I do is I say, I'll take you to Auntie Coco's and she'll make you eat things that are gluten-free. And that usually will smarten them up pretty quick.
Yeah.
That usually helps. But, now that, since they don't seem to be super into tangible things, I can be like, there's always Belschnickel and there's always Krampus. So there's always beatings and death.
And there's others too. Like those are just, you got a whole buffet. You have the book. So like you could pick a whole slew of monsters that could show up. And I think it's when you understand what the holiday means and where it comes from, then the stuff I was doing, like when I talked about hanging the wreath and putting up the lights. So in Norse countries during Yule festivals, you hear sounds outside that you don't hear the rest of the year. I'm familiar with them because I live where the trees lose their leaves. And when you look out at the landscape and you see that winter kills everything, it kills the flowers, it kills the grass, it kills the trees. They're naked skeletons, right? It kills absolutely everything in the landscape except one tree, right? It doesn't kill the evergreen. And so there must be something inherently magical and powerful about the evergreen that it could stand up to winter. And so when you hear these shrieking sounds at night, especially, in the winter, that you don't hear that in the spring, summer, or fall, you don't hear the shrieks, but you do And is that just the wind, or is it the Norse god Odin chasing down his vanquished foes? And those spirits are trying to get in and ruin you. And so you take
the latter. It's definitely the latter. Yeah.
That's what so you take the branches off the evergreen and you put them over your doors and over your windows, that those prickly needles will keep the bad spirits out and the good cheer inside. And you know this tree is sacred. It's powerful. It's more powerful than winter. And if it can get through winter, I can get through winter. And we bring it in the house as a symbol. And it means something. When you understand that, now when I put a wreath up, I really, really do want to keep the bad cheer out, even if it's for a month, and keep the good cheer inside. It's not just because it looks nice and Dad did it and I live in New England and it's expected of me. And, I'm doing it because there's actual ceremony to it. There's ritual to it that goes back thousands of years, that crosses many different traditions, Roman traditions and Nordic traditions and Christian and pagan and everything else. And I want that symbol to remind me that I want the bad cheer out and the good cheer in the house.
It's really cool. So it's almost become a practice for you, like because of this book. Like Christmas has its own rituals now that it didn't have.
It had them. I just didn't know why I was doing them. But now I do, and now it means something. So it's a world of difference between doing something with intention and meaning and just doing something because you're supposed to.
Now I'm just kicking myself because I didn't order the wreath from the local high school fundraiser in time, which I've done every year. So now I'm going to have to I'll go to the Christmas tree farm. It's because I hate children, because I want to put them all in all in the sack with Belschnickel.
That's fair. So you know what I did last year? I for the first time ever, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to use that plastic wreath that I still have it. It's in the basement. It's locked away. I said, I'm going to make my own wreath. And I went out and I live against the woods. So I went out and I just cut some branches off of some various evergreens, and I came back and I got crafting wire and I made this, there's no other word, but abomination of a wreath.
But that will scare the nasty spirits away. It's the abomination
It'll
wreath.
Scare the things away.
The wreath of abomination. I think that is the title of your next book, Jeff. The wreath of abomination.
I can't use that as the title of my book because it's already the name of my band.
Oh,
there you go.
It could be the story of your band.
We are the wreath of abomination. Yeah. No, but it was a mess, and I'm like, and as awful as it was, and it took forever, and it's by all means, try it at home, kids. Like if you want to give it a whirl, like it's harder than it looks.
Jeff, you don't have a baby at home. It's so cute that he's like, just try this. I'm like,
your hands are covered in sap. I'm gonna try again this year because I'm not one to quit. But I think like if I can just get a little better at it each year and make it look less like an abomination, then that's a small victory.
I love that. That's awesome. I did. I have wreaths that I put out every year. On occasion I would buy them when we would cut down a tree. But I also, my new favorite thing is I have someone who made for me and it's plastic, but it's a Yule log. Yeah. But I'll put real pine needles in it. I kind of will backfill it with things that are real. And but the base of it is something I can use year after year after year. And then it's got the candles and stuff inside of it. But
that's wonderful.
I I do a hybrid of real, not real. Right.
And that's okay because, you know, all legends and stories and practices has to come up with the times, right? It has to match the times. So it makes sense. The original Yule log, by the way, you would take a whole tree and you would look for a specific tree, depending on what you're looking for. It had magical properties, each different tree. And you would, first of all, you'd take the whole thing and drag it into your house. You would light the tip of the tree in your hearth with remnants of last year's Yule log, signifying this renewal. And then you would keep pushing it into the hearth as it burns all day long. The world's biggest fire hazard, no question, right? Like, don't try this at home. Yeah, don't try this at home. But that's the original Yule log. And then you would save some for next year, and you would take those ashes and use them when you need a little magic throughout the year. You would spread some ashes on your field in hopes that good crops grow this summer. You might, sprinkle some, anoint someone who's sick. Whatever it is you need, you would save those ashes. Now the Yule log is a giant chocolate confection cake with devil's food cake and white filling and hard chocolate on the outside, and you cut it into slices. But so what? You shouldn't put that all inside of you at once either. It could kill you.
I mean, I still will. because I like to make bad choices, but
Sure. Fair.
you know, it's once a year. I mean, you know, these are the things that you do once a year, right? I'm not doing it. Well, I wouldn't admit to doing that weekly, but you know, it's the fun ways that we take things and then we, you know, make them our own.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
some of the characters that you talk about, like, I think it's funny you do talk about, because it's called The Fright Before Christmas, Surviving Krampus and Other Yuletide Monsters. And so I thought it was funny that one of the quote unquote Yuletide monsters is Santa Claus. Like, I love that.
Well, I mean, of course, if you weren't raised in the Christian tradition, like, you're probably pretty bitter about, say, if Santa was not part of your childhood, but it was part of like lots of your friends around you. I gotta believe that would hurt. And I can't pretend to stand in those shoes. I didn't. But I realized that, and then I had Jewish friends that are like, no, Santa came to our house too, because my parents didn't want us to miss out. And I'm like, great. I think that's awesome. Right. Because Santa you know, to those kids probably was a horrible thing. Like, how come he goes to all my friends' houses, but not mine? Or if you're poor, ouch, right? Santa doesn't visit the really poor people. That's horrible. And what a mixed message that we throw out there. And so what's a wonderful saint to some people is a horrible monster to others. And I think you just sort of have to look at some perspective on it. But also, Santa is of our creation. We have turned him into a real thing, and we have the chance to fix that every year. And so my family likes to sponsor another family. We there's a local charity that you get a literal wish list. The kid is this old, this year, you know, this many years old. This is what they're looking for. This is their clothes size and everything else. So we always make sure we sponsor some local kids. We make sure we give to charities, because we want to make sure that we can do something, you know, with our excess. We want to make sure that we can spread that spirit, because that spirit, the best part of that spirit, possesses me every December, and I welcome it. I don't need that exorcism, right? That's one I want that to infiltrate. It's one I need. I need it to renew me, to fill my heart and help me get through that time, because I have to also be around relatives.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. You need that. And I think I like how you really kind of bring it back to what the real meaning of the season was really what you're doing is you're celebrating, and you're trying to enjoy and appreciate what you have and what's going on, because life's going to get harder. And that's true. I mean, even now we don't have the perils necessarily so much of winter, although some people do have a lot of perils for winter. But
Sure.
It is, you know, it's harder. Life's harder. Sometimes you're shut in your house. You can't leave. The roads are covered in ice. There's nowhere to go. Hopefully you stocked up on groceries before it happened, you know, all the things. So there's, you know, definitely difficulties come winter for people in modern times.
Seasonal affective disorder. Like, if you live in certain where like it's just dark a lot, you're inside a lot. You're not getting enough sunshine. You're not going for walks because you live in a place where the world hurts your face. It's that cold, you know. So I get it, and those are still things we have to face down. Not nearly as difficult as it used to be, of course, but there are still challenges to winter, and there's no reason that we can't sort of connect to these old ways, because they never went away. Think of how powerful they are. Like, people put up a Christmas tree year after year, and I know Christmas trees aren't actually all that old. I mean, they've only been brought inside for, you know, it was the 1800s. It wasn't all that long ago, but you know, it was late 1700s too as well, but very sparse. It didn't catch on until much later. So some of these traditions are just because someone decided this is going to be my new tradition, which means this year and next year and everyone after, you get to decide which traditions you want to incorporate and why and what they mean to you. And I think that's really awesome that you're allowed to. I mean, I always struggle when someone talks about the notion of cultural appropriation, because all culture is appropriated. Right. I mean, it's all it's all appropriated from somewhere. Someone, like, if you ate a really great dish of food somewhere, you ask for the recipe and you come home and you add your own favorite thing to it, and now it's yours. That's how life works. So I think sometimes we can and should take the best parts of other cultures and bring them in if they make sense.
We talk about that a lot with cultural appropriation of trying to find that line, because you don't want to be so worried about that like you're not promoting Black-owned business or other, businesses or other, because you're afraid of, I can't share in this, that there is a level of things that we all share in and that we should all be encouraged to share in, so that we are supporting each other and lifting each other up and being a part of things and appreciating, what other people bring to the table. Like you said, a lot of these stories and folklore came from people who came to this country from places all over the world. Right. So, we have them to thank for that. And that's right. I think I've had so much fun talking to you this morning. This is awesome. Our listeners are going to absolutely love this. I'm just so tickled. Can you let everybody know where they can find you, where they can hear more about your Legends of New England and other fun things?
Yeah, sure. So my website is my name, Jeff Belanger, but I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, or whatever they call it now. You can find me on there. I do story tours. I do events all over. My podcast, New England Legends, is anywhere you get your podcast. It comes out every week. They're short scripted stories from New England, weirdness of, ghosts, monsters, aliens, witches and ghosts and true crime and everything else. And I love this stuff. I love all these weird subjects, and I love the community around it. And I love people who are seeking and have questions and can talk about and learn and grow. And so I always welcome, new people into the fold, however that looks.
That's awesome. Like I said, we're so excited to have had you on, and I think this is such a fun holiday episode. And it's fun to think about the dark side of the holidays. Well, and that, because without the dark, you can't really have the frou-frou. So
you got to get
like I said, I've come away with a lot of new parenting styles from this episode. I think I'm not sure my children are going to be as excited, but I am quite pleased.
I love that, and I'm happy to help. Yeah, I think you got to get through the trials. You've got to get through the darkness to come out on the other side, and you will be better for it. And when you understand that, when you can sort of face down your own demons and your own ghosts, just like Ebenezer Scrooge, you could wake up one morning and realize like everything can change, your heart can melt, and you have a choice to wake up and continue to be angry and bitter, or to wake up and buy a turkey for Bob Cratchit and give money to the poor and be with your family again. And we face those choices every day. But I think unless you go through the trials, how can you appreciate them? And so these monsters, this darkness, the scary stuff offers us those trials, and they're here because we need them. We summon them. We need the chance to grow. And thankfully, I think they're coming back to serve us.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will, I'm so excited. And everyone, definitely, you're going to want to check out this book, Surviving Krampus and Other Yuletide Monsters, The Fright Before Christmas by Jeff Belanger. And thank you so much for coming on. And I hope everybody is having a good holiday season. And we will talk to y'all next week.
Well, we'll talk to you in the new year, because this is our last new episode before the new year.
Oh, well, there you go. We'll talk to you after the new year. I hope you had a good time and you didn't get eaten by Krampus.
And if you did, I hope it was fun. Thank you for listening to That Witch Life podcast. Our music is by Dustin Schultz, editing by Corey Drake. If you like what we do, please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the show, you can buy us a coffee or check out our merch on our Etsy store, or join us on Patreon for bonus content, ad-free episodes, or to join our Witch Squad. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For show notes, audio transcript, or to ask us a question to answer on a future episode, go to thatwitchlife.com. Until then, keep moding that shit. We will talk to you next week.
So mote it be.